Let God's wisdom silence your doubts for 2026. My friend, we are standing at the edge of a new season. A new year is before us, and with it comes uncertainty. Many hearts are filled with questions. Will I make it? Will things change? Will God still guide me? Doubt has a way of whispering loudly when the future is unclear. It tells you that you are not strong enough. It tells you that your past disqualifies you. It tells you that God may not come through this time. But listen carefully. Doubt is not stronger than God's wisdom. The wisdom of God does not shout. It does not panic. It does not rush. God's wisdom is calm, steady, and sure. While the world is confused, God remains certain. While people change, God remains faithful. Some of you are entering 2026 carrying heavy burdens. You've prayed, but the answer hasn't come yet. You've trusted, but the door hasn't opened. And slowly, doubt has tried to take the place of faith. But God's wisdom sees what you cannot see. He knows the end from the beginning. He understands the delay. He knows why the road has been difficult. There are times when God is not denying you. He is developing you. There are moments when silence is not abandonment, it is preparation. Doubt often feels loud and overwhelming, especially when the future is uncertain. It creeps into the mind quietly at first, then grows until it begins to shape how a person thinks, prays, and decides. Doubt questions whether God truly cares, whether His promises still apply, and whether faith is worth holding on to when circumstances seem unchanged. It thrives in moments of waiting, in seasons of disappointment, and in times when prayers appear unanswered. Yet even when doubt feels powerful, it is not greater than God's wisdom. God's wisdom is not hurried or emotional like human thinking. It is not shaken by bad news, unexpected delays, or frightening possibilities. While doubt reacts to what is seen, God's wisdom operates on what is eternal. Doubt looks at the size of the problem. God's wisdom looks at the certainty of His purpose. Where doubt asks, "What if this goes wrong?" God's wisdom declares, "I already know the end." This difference is what gives faith its foundation. Faith is not blind optimism. It is confidence rooted in the wisdom of God. Many people believe doubt means they have failed spiritually. They think that questioning or struggling disqualifies them from God's help. But doubt itself does not push God away. What weakens a person is allowing doubt to have the final voice. God's wisdom invites honesty, not perfection. Throughout history, God has worked through people who wrestled with fear, uncertainty, and hesitation. His wisdom did not reject them for their doubts. It guided them through those doubts and transformed their weakness into strength. Doubt tends to focus on the present moment, especially when that moment is painful. It magnifies loss, delay, and disappointment until they appear permanent. God's wisdom, however, sees beyond the moment. It understands that seasons change, growth takes time, and character is often formed in difficulty. What looks like failure today may be the foundation for purpose tomorrow. God's wisdom never wastes pain. Even when the road is hard, He is shaping something deeper within the heart. Another way doubt speaks loudly is by reminding people of their past. It points to mistakes, regrets, and missed opportunities, whispering that it is too late for change. God's wisdom speaks a different truth. It declares that the past does not have the authority to cancel the future. God is not limited by history, age, or former failures. His wisdom works redemption into broken stories and brings new beginnings where people see only endings. What doubt calls final, God's wisdom calls unfinished. Doubt also tries to create urgency and panic. It pushes people to make quick decisions out of fear, to settle for less, or to walk away from faith altogether. God's wisdom does the opposite. It brings peace into confusion and clarity into chaos. It teaches patience when the answer is not immediate and trust when the outcome is unclear. God's wisdom reassures the heart that waiting is not wasted time when it is spent in trust. When life feels unstable, doubt often questions God's presence. It asks whether God is still near or whether he has turned away. But God's wisdom assures that his presence is not dependent on feelings or circumstances. He remains close even when emotions fluctuate and situations change. God's wisdom reminds believers that they are never navigating life alone, even when the path feels lonely. Doubt speaks in questions, but God's wisdom speaks in promises. Doubt asks, "Will this work out?" God's wisdom responds, "I will never leave you." Doubt asks, "Am I strong enough?" God's wisdom answers, "My strength is made perfect in weakness." These promises do not erase challenges, but they silence the fear that those challenges will have the final word. As people look toward a new year, doubt often tries to predict failure before the journey even begins. It reviews past disappointments and assumes the future will be the same. God's wisdom invites a different perspective. It calls people to trust not in their ability to control outcomes, but in God's ability to guide, sustain, and provide. God's wisdom is steady when emotions are unstable. It anchors the soul when uncertainty rises. Ultimately, doubt may speak loudly, but it is temporary. God's wisdom is eternal. Doubt changes with circumstances. God's wisdom remains constant. When people choose to listen to God's wisdom rather than their fears, doubt begins to lose its power. Peace replaces panic. Trust replaces anxiety. Hope rises where fear once ruled. God's wisdom does not deny reality, it transcends it, reminding every heart that no matter how uncertain the road ahead may seem, God's truth, guidance, and faithfulness are greater than every doubt. Waiting is one of the most difficult experiences in life because it feels like nothing is happening. Prayers are offered with sincerity, hope is held onto with effort, and yet the situation remains unchanged. In those moments, it is easy to assume that God has said no or that he has chosen not to act. The silence feels heavy, and the delay feels personal. But delay does not mean denial. Often what feels like God withholding is actually God working in ways that are unseen. Human thinking is shaped by urgency. People want answers now, solutions now, and relief now. When these things do not come quickly, disappointment grows. Doubt begins to question whether God heard the prayer at all. Yet God's timing operates on a different level. He sees not only what is needed today, but what will be required tomorrow, next year, and beyond. A delayed answer is often God's wisdom protecting someone from receiving something too soon before they are ready to handle it. There are seasons when God allows waiting because he is strengthening the inner life. Character is rarely built in moments of instant success. Patience, humility, endurance, and trust are often formed in the quiet spaces where nothing seems to move. While the heart is waiting for change on the outside, God is shaping maturity on the inside. What feels like stagnation is often preparation. Many people pray for open doors without realizing that God is also preparing them to walk through those doors wisely. An opportunity received too early can become a burden rather than a blessing. God's delay is not an indication of disinterest, it is evidence of care. He knows the weight of what is being asked and understands the responsibility that comes with it. Waiting is often God's way of aligning a person's heart, mind, and faith with the future he has planned. Silence can also be a test of trust. When God speaks clearly, faith feels easy. But when there are no immediate answers, faith must grow deeper roots. Trust that depends on constant reassurance is fragile. God's delay invites people to trust His character rather than His explanations. It teaches the heart to believe that God is good even when His ways are not understood. Delay often feels uncomfortable because it exposes what people truly rely on. When plans fail and timelines collapse, it becomes clear whether confidence is placed in God or in personal control. God sometimes removes the illusion of control so that true dependence can grow. In these moments, prayer becomes less about demanding results and more about seeking God's presence. The waiting season transforms the relationship, making it less transactional and more relational. There are also times when God's delay is connected to growth in wisdom. What someone desires today may look different after time has passed. God in His wisdom may allow waiting so that perspective can change. What once seemed essential may later be recognized as unnecessary, and what once felt disappointing may later be understood as protection. Delay gives space for discernment to develop. For many, delay feels like rejection because they measure God's love by outcomes. When prayers are answered quickly, God feels near. When answers take time, it feels like distance. But God's love is not measured by speed. His love is demonstrated through faithfulness over time. Even in delay, He remains attentive, involved, and purposeful. God's silence is not absence, it is often the quiet work of preparation. Waiting also builds resilience. Life will always present moments of uncertainty, and those who learn to wait well develop strength that cannot be easily shaken. Delay teaches endurance, helping people remain steady even when circumstances are unstable. This resilience becomes a foundation for future challenges. God prepares His people not only for blessings, but for the responsibilities and trials that come with them. When people finally look back on seasons of waiting, they often see how necessary they were. What once felt like wasted time becomes recognized as formative time. The delay clarified values, deepened faith, and refined priorities. God was not late, He was intentional. His timing proved to be precise, not random. In a world that equates speed with success, God's delay reminds people that growth is not rushed. Seeds take time to develop beneath the surface before anything appears above ground. In the same way, God often works quietly before visible change occurs. Delay does not mean the promise is gone. It often means the promise is being protected until the right moment arrives. Trusting God in delay requires surrender. It means releasing the demand for immediate answers and choosing faith instead. It means believing that God's wisdom sees what human understanding cannot. Even when the waiting feels long and the silence feels heavy, God remains active. Delay is not the end of the story. It is often the chapter where preparation takes place, shaping hearts for what is yet to come. There is a common belief that before moving forward in life, everything must be clear and understood. People often feel pressure to have every detail planned, every outcome predicted, and every risk calculated. When clarity is missing, fear quickly fills the space. The mind begins to race with questions about what could go wrong, what might be lost, and whether the decision will lead to regret. This desire for certainty can become a barrier that keeps people stuck, unable to move at all. Yet progress has never depended on having all the answers. Life rarely provides complete clarity before action is required. Waiting for perfect understanding often leads to endless hesitation. God's way of leading does not usually involve revealing the entire journey at once. Instead, guidance often comes one step at a time. This requires trust, not total comprehension. Faith is not built on knowing everything in advance, but on trusting the one who leads. The need for control is deeply rooted in human nature. People feel safer when they can predict outcomes and manage risks. However, this sense of control is often an illusion. No amount of planning can guarantee results or prevent unexpected challenges. God's invitation is not to control the future, but to trust Him with it. Moving forward without all the answers is an act of surrender, acknowledging that human understanding is limited while God's wisdom is not. Fear often disguises itself as caution. People tell themselves they are being wise by waiting, but underneath that hesitation is often fear of failure or disappointment. The fear of making the wrong decision can become stronger than the desire to obey God's leading. Yet faith grows when action is taken despite uncertainty. Each step forward, even when unsure, strengthens trust and builds confidence in God's guidance. Trusting God step by step means focusing on what is known rather than what is unknown. Often, the next right step is clear even when the full path is not. God rarely asks people to understand the entire plan before obeying. He asks for faithfulness in the present moment. Small acts of obedience create momentum, and with each step, clarity begins to increase. What once felt confusing slowly becomes understandable through experience. Uncertainty has a way of revealing priorities. When everything is clear, faith is easy. When clarity is missing, faith must be intentional. Trust becomes a choice rather than a feeling. In these moments, reliance on God deepens. Prayer becomes more sincere, humility grows, and dependence shifts away from self-reliance. The absence of answers creates space for spiritual growth. Many people underestimate how much strength they gain by walking forward in uncertainty. They assume that confidence comes before action, but often confidence is the result of action. Each step taken in faith reinforces the belief that God is trustworthy. Over time, fear loses its grip as experience confirms that God provides guidance along the way. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable through trust. Moving forward without all the answers also builds resilience. Life will always involve unknowns, and those who learn to walk by faith become better equipped to handle change. They are not easily shaken by unexpected obstacles because their trust is not anchored in circumstances. Instead, their confidence rests in God's unchanging character. This stability allows them to remain calm even when the future is uncertain. There is also freedom in accepting that not everything needs to be understood. The pressure to figure everything out can be exhausting. Releasing that burden brings peace. Trusting God step by step allows people to live fully in the present rather than being consumed by future worries. It shifts the focus from what if to what now. This change in perspective reduces anxiety and increases contentment. God often uses uncertainty to draw people closer to Him. When answers are limited, communication with God becomes more frequent. Dependence replaces independence and relationship deepens. God becomes not just a guide for major decisions, but a daily companion. This ongoing connection strengthens faith in ways that certainty never could. As people move forward without complete understanding, they often discover that God's guidance becomes clearer with movement. Direction is easier to discern when walking than when standing still. Waiting for certainty can delay progress, but stepping forward in faith opens the way for insight. God honors trust expressed through action. Ultimately, moving forward without all the answers is not recklessness, it is trust. It acknowledges that while human understanding has limits, God's wisdom does not. Faith-filled steps may feel uncomfortable, but they lead to growth, clarity, and deeper reliance on God. When people choose to trust God one step at a time, they discover that He is faithful to guide them, even when the path ahead is not fully visible. Fear has a powerful influence over human decisions. It often presents itself as a protective instinct, warning of danger and urging caution. While caution has its place, fear becomes harmful when it begins to dictate choices, shape beliefs, and limit growth. As a new year approaches, fear tends to grow stronger, reminding people of past failures, uncertain outcomes, and potential losses. If fear is allowed to guide decisions, it can quietly redirect lives away from purpose and toward regret. Fear thrives on imagination rather than reality. It projects worst-case scenarios and convinces the mind that failure is inevitable. Decisions made under fear are rarely aligned with wisdom. They are reactions rather than thoughtful responses. When fear controls direction, people often choose what feels safe instead of what is right. This leads to missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and a life shaped by avoidance rather than faith. God's wisdom offers a different foundation for decision-making. It does not ignore risks, but it evaluates them through the lens of trust. Wisdom acknowledges uncertainty without surrendering to panic. It considers the present situation while remaining anchored in God's promises. When God's wisdom guides decisions, peace replaces anxiety and clarity replaces confusion. Fear often focuses on loss. It asks what might be taken away, what could go wrong, and how painful the outcome might be. Wisdom focuses on purpose. It asks what aligns with God's will, what leads to growth, and what honors faith. While fear narrows vision, wisdom expands it. Fear sees obstacles. Wisdom sees opportunities for trust and transformation. As people enter a new season, fear frequently resurfaces old wounds. Past disappointments become evidence used against hope. Fear says that because something failed before, it will fail again. Wisdom understands that experience does not equal destiny. Growth often comes through lessons learned from past mistakes. God's wisdom uses previous failures not as barriers, but as tools for refinement. Decisions shaped by fear often aim to avoid discomfort at all costs. Yet growth rarely occurs in comfort zones. Wisdom understands that challenge is often necessary for development. Choosing what is comfortable may provide short-term relief, but it can lead to long-term stagnation. God's wisdom encourages courage, even when the path is unfamiliar or demanding. Fear also distorts identity. It convinces people that they are incapable, unqualified, or unworthy. When decisions are based on these beliefs, individuals limit themselves unnecessarily. Wisdom restores perspective by reminding people that their strength does not come from themselves alone. God's wisdom affirms that capability is rooted in God's guidance and provision, not personal perfection. Another way fear influences decisions is through urgency. It pressures people to act quickly or not at all. Fear creates the illusion that waiting will make things worse. Wisdom, however, values discernment. It allows time for prayer, reflection, and counsel. Wise decisions are not rushed, they are grounded. God's wisdom brings patience into decision-making, preventing impulsive actions driven by anxiety. Fear-driven choices often isolate people. They withdraw from support, avoid vulnerability, and attempt to manage everything alone. Wisdom recognizes the value of community and counsel. It understands that seeking guidance is a strength, not a weakness. God's wisdom encourages connection, accountability, and shared insight. As 2026 approaches, fear may attempt to define expectations. It may lower hope, limit ambition, and discourage faith-filled goals. Wisdom challenges these limitations. It invites people to trust God with their plans and believe that the future is not controlled by past disappointments. God's wisdom opens the heart to possibility, even when the outcome is uncertain. Living under fear leads to constant stress. The mind remains alert for threats, and peace becomes difficult to maintain. Wisdom brings rest. It allows people to make decisions from a place of trust rather than tension. This does not eliminate challenges, but it provides stability within them. Choosing wisdom over fear requires intentional effort. Fear will always attempt to speak first, but it does not need to have the final word. By seeking God's wisdom through prayer, reflection, and faith, people can make decisions that align with purpose rather than panic. When wisdom guides the heart, fear loses its authority, and life begins to move forward with confidence and peace. The future often feels intimidating because it exists beyond human control. No matter how carefully life is planned, there will always be unanswered questions and unpredictable moments. People naturally want assurance that everything will turn out well, yet certainty remains out of reach. This gap between desire and reality is where anxiety begins. Trusting God with the unknown future does not eliminate uncertainty, but it changes how uncertainty is carried. Instead of bearing it alone, the heart learns to place that weight into God's hands. Uncertainty becomes frightening when people believe they must face it with their own strength. The mind begins to calculate worst-case scenarios, imagining outcomes that may never happen. This mental burden drains peace and steals joy from the present. Trusting God means acknowledging that personal strength is limited, but God's strength is not. It is the decision to believe that whatever the future brings, God will provide what is needed to endure it. One of the greatest obstacles to trusting God with the future is the fear of disappointment. Many have hoped before and been let down, and those memories linger. Pain teaches caution, and caution slowly turns into guarded expectations. Trust requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels risky after loss. Yet trusting God does not mean trusting circumstances to be perfect. It means trusting God to remain faithful regardless of circumstances. Even when outcomes differ from expectations, God's presence does not waver. The unknown future often feels overwhelming because people attempt to live it all at once. They carry tomorrow's worries, next year's fears, and distant uncertainties into today. This mental overload creates constant tension. Trusting God shifts focus back to the present moment. It encourages living today with faith, believing that tomorrow will be met with new grace. This daily trust lightens the emotional load and restores balance. Trust also challenges the illusion of self-sufficiency. Many people find comfort in believing they can manage life if they try hard enough. When the future becomes uncertain, this belief is threatened. Trusting God requires humility, the acceptance that human effort alone is not enough. It opens the door to dependence not as weakness, but as wisdom. In trusting God, people find stability that self-reliance can never provide. Another fear tied to the unknown future is the fear of change. Change disrupts familiarity and challenges comfort. Even positive change can feel unsettling because it requires adjustment. Trusting God means believing that change does not happen outside of His awareness. It affirms that God works through transitions, using them to shape character and redirect paths. What feels like disruption may actually be direction. Trusting God also redefines security. Many people base security on predictable routines, stable finances, or familiar relationships. When these are threatened, fear rises. Trust invites a deeper form of security, one rooted in God's unchanging nature. While external circumstances fluctuate, God remains constant. This spiritual security provides peace that is not dependent on stability in the world. The future becomes less frightening when trust replaces speculation. Instead of constantly asking what might go wrong, trust asks who will be present when challenges arise. The answer to that question changes everything. Knowing that God walks ahead, alongside and behind provides assurance that no moment will be faced alone. This confidence does not erase difficulty, but it transforms fear into courage. Trust also brings patience. When the future is uncertain, impatience pushes people to force outcomes or rush decisions. Trust allows space for God's timing. It teaches that waiting is not wasted and that preparation often happens in unseen ways. Patience grows when trust is exercised, enabling people to move forward calmly rather than react impulsively. As trust deepens, hope begins to replace fear. Hope does not guarantee ease, but it expects meaning. It believes that God is capable of bringing good even from hardship. This hope sustains perseverance, encouraging people to keep moving forward even when the path is unclear. Trust fuels hope by anchoring it in God's faithfulness rather than in circumstances. Trusting God with the unknown future also strengthens faith. Each step taken without certainty becomes evidence that God is reliable. Over time, trust becomes a habit rather than a struggle. The heart learns that uncertainty does not signal abandonment, but invites deeper reliance on God. Ultimately, trusting God with the future means releasing control and embracing faith. It acknowledges that while the future cannot be predicted, it can be entrusted. This trust does not remove questions, but it provides peace within them. It allows people to move forward with confidence, knowing that whatever awaits, God's presence, wisdom, and care will remain unwavering. You may not understand the path, but human wisdom asks, "Why me?" God's wisdom declares, "I am with you." When doubt rises, remember this: God has never failed a single promise. Not one. History stands as evidence that God's wisdom always leads His people through the storm, not around it. You don't need to have all the answers to move forward. You don't need to see the whole picture to take the next step. You only need to place your trust in the one who holds tomorrow. As you step into 2026, don't allow fear to make your decisions. Don't allow doubt to silence your prayers. Let God's wisdom speak louder than your worries. When you don't know what to do, seek Him. When you feel weak, lean on Him. When your mind is troubled, rest in Him. God's wisdom will guide your steps. God's wisdom will guard your heart. God's wisdom will silence every doubt that stands against your faith. The future is not something to fear when God is leading you into it. So walk forward with confidence, not in yourself, but in God. Trust His timing, trust His plan, and let His wisdom carry you into everything He has prepared for you.